And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to a high vibe conversation. I'm your host, Shel Shapiro. With me today, we have Stina Marie, Linda Vetrus Nichols, and Dorit Carlson. Today, we'll be talking all about the unapologetic life. Before we dive into the conversation at hand, I want to remind everybody and welcome everyone that this is a safe space. We invite you to share with us as we talk through our life lessons and hold space for you to work through yours. What this means is whether you are joining us live or catching us on a replay, if at any point you feel like the conversation is really resonating with you, you have an experience of your own that relates to the topic, you have insights you want to share, please feel free to share them with us in the chat. And of course, if you feel like you want to have a high vibe conversation more privately to discuss these things and more, you can use this link on your screen to book a high vibe conversation of your own with the high vibe lady of your choosing. The link will let you choose which one of us you want to have that conversation with. Of course, you can connect with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to have more high vibe conversations with you. And if you want to catch up on previous conversations or just get alerted when new ones are coming your way, please make sure to subscribe to that YouTube channel seen on your screen now. I'll pop all these links up towards the end of the conversation so you don't have to go searching for them. So now let's get into today's topic, the unapologetic life. I'm going to say right out the gate, like this is a total shift for me because I grew up being a people pleaser and somebody that like I always felt like I needed to take responsibility for everything anybody else was doing, even if it wasn't within my scope of anything that had to do with me. And so I was very used to, probably still am a little bit, apologizing for something else that happened that had nothing to do with me. So this is a game changer talking about the unapologetic life, because as a recovering people pleaser, like I know where I end, as Jenny would say, and the other person begins, or I'm getting better at it. And I want to know how everybody else has experienced this as well. So, Stina, I normally go clockwise around the screen, so I'm coming to you first. What's coming up for you today as we talk about the unapologetic life?
Yeah, I've said a few times, I think one of my life's missions is to get women in particular to stop apologizing so much. I had a coach once who would say, "You're not sorry. Stop apologizing. You aren't a sorry human being." And I thought that was kind of an interesting little spin on it, because when we say, "I am sorry," there's a couple of things. Like I've learned in therapy not to say I am sad. You say I feel sad, or I am feeling sad. You are not sad. You're experiencing sadness. And so when we say as a kind of reflexive response, I'm sorry, it is kind of putting that on ourselves. It's also bypassing, I think, what we're really feeling. We don't take a second to check in with ourselves and say, what's really going on here? What am I actually feeling? What's actually being communicated to me? What conclusions am I jumping to? What assumptions am I making? What responsibility am I taking that just out of impulse? Instead of slowing down and saying, okay, have I offended someone? Have I hurt someone? Have I gone against an agreement? Like, is there actually something to apologize for? Right. So I caught one of my kids, my oldest. Well, there was a whole exchange, but I said, okay, what do we need to do now? And he said, I should say I'm sorry, and I was like, are you sorry though? And he was like, well, no. And I said, then I don't think you should apologize. And, we had more of a conversation, which revealed what was a genuine apology, because he needed to recognize that he had hit his sibling and that the sibling didn't deserve that. Right. So an undeserving person got hit because you chose to communicate through physical violence instead of just a verbal directive. Um, and once he kind of like, once we could reframe that and say, this is what's happening, then he had like some genuine remorse and feeling of like, oh, I wouldn't like that if someone did that to me, kind of a feeling. And then he could offer a genuine apology. But I think so often we just like we get to that too fast because we're trying to kind of deflect or avoid like an uncomfortable conversation or something uncomfortable within ourselves. And so it just becomes this real band-aid, and kind of goes back to our conversation about forgiveness culture, where we're just kind of like running into forgiveness, we're running into the apology instead of, most things, particularly in adult relationships, unless it's just, a slip of the tongue, you say something you didn't, oh, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Let me explain that. There's a lot of things that could use a bit more time or space for a little processing before an apology is delivered. Because an apology means nothing if you don't follow it up with changed action either.
I love that. Follow it up with action. Thank you. Like I was right there with you as you were sharing that. And it also took me back to the conversation that we just recently had about forgiveness culture as well. And I was kind of like marrying the two in my head together of like, yeah, we really do not only get pushed to forgive, but we also feel like the need to give that apology right away, even if we don't take the time to think about like, are we actually sorry? What's actually going on here? And is there a reason to apologize? So often, and I'm guilty of it a little bit of myself too, like when somebody is late to a conversation or like if they missed an appointment, like I tell clients all the time, they come on and they're like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, what are you sorry for? Like, and I'm like, one, you don't really need to apologize. Two, you don't have to defend your actions to me of like what that reason is. Like, I don't necessarily need to know that, but are you sorry? And if you're not, then like let's skip the niceties and like get right into the work that we need to do so that we don't waste more time, kind of thing. So I definitely catch myself reminding people to not apologize so much. Linda, I'm coming down to you because I see you've unmiked. What's coming up for you as we talk about the unapologetic life?
Thanks. Yeah, my little brother, he was 3 years younger, and he was pretty little, I think, when this was all happening. I'll never forget how he would be like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, everything, I'm sorry. And my mom finally just had it, and she's like, if you're sorry, you'll show me. Because again, no change in the behavior, right? So that's kind of what came up for me, and I thought that went really well with what Stina was saying.
Again, if you're sorry, you'll show me. Like there's action behind that. So yeah, I love that, tying it in with your own personal experience of your younger brother as well. Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Also, this was what the other thing I just forgot. The other thing is this week I put out a meme. It was like, I'm sorry I'm late, and changing I'm sorry's to thank you. And again, that brings us back to the being fully present and conscious of, not just what's happening for you on your side, the experience of the other. So instead of I'm sorry I'm late, thank you for waiting for me. I just loved that. There are a whole bunch of examples of it on that meme.
Yeah. Thank you for your time and consideration is one that I always use. Not so much for the other person, but more for me, because my gut instinct is like, oh, I'm wasting this person's time, or like I feel like I'm being a nuisance asking for this additional thing, or like whatever the exchange is. And so when I can reframe that sentence for myself, then it also makes that conversation go that much smoother, because then the person on the other end knows that they're appreciated. So yeah. Dorit, I'm coming over to you. What's coming up for you as we talk now about the unapologetic life?
Well, the first thing that comes up is that we are born into this world unapologetic. We cry for what we want, we cry to get fed, and we cry to be held, and we just demand the things that we feel that we need. And we don't feel sorry for waking our mom up in the middle of the night and having her change a dirty diaper at 2 a.m. or whatever. We don't apologize for that. So the apologizing is a learned behavior that we kind of are imprinted with to fit in with society. And that brings me to my husband's oldest daughter. She is now 34 years old. And this was like 30 years ago, and she would not apologize. I mean, she would steal her sister's toys or destroy something or hit or whatever, and me and John tried to get her to apologize and make friends again, and you did something wrong, apologize to the person. And she would not budge. No, she was not apologizing whatsoever. I mean, we were like smoke coming out of our ears. We were so frustrated with this little one, and she was like, just like this. And I'm like, yeah, great. But she has continued that path throughout her life, and she's doing things her own way. She's following her own compass. She's never asking for help or guidance from anyone, and she's taking the hits for it too. Like, she's taking the consequences and she's powering through. So I kind of respect her and admire her for that. She's just doing her own thing and driving her own little race there. But oh my goodness, she was frustrating for us when we had 5 kids trying to raise them all, and that one was a challenge. We tried talking to her, we tried everything, you name it, everything, and no. So yeah, it's not for everyone to apologize, that's for sure.
I think that's such an admirable trait that, yes, frustrating for you as parents when she was younger, and also probably for her siblings too, and even probably for her at times. But like that, the fact that she's not wavered in that and stayed true to herself, and like, I'm not going to apologize for who I am and what I want, and just keeps going with it. Like, I love, like, I'm like kind of envious. I'm like, I wish I had known that. Like, I wish I was taught that younger.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find that to be very admirable. That she stays true to who she is always.
Absolutely. Well, the last thing she did was this summer. She decided to move to England, and after a long process of getting her cat rabies vaccinated and finding the best way to bring the cat to UK, she's got a boyfriend there, and she found out that she needed to go via first fly to Denmark and then take a 22-hour boat from Denmark up to Newcastle with the cat. So she did that. And when she came to the port in Newcastle, her boyfriend was waiting. And the customs says to her, "What are you doing here?" And she says, "Well, I'm going to live here." And they say, "Oh, no, you're not, because you don't have a visa." Because she had not checked anything. She had not found out how that was important or anything like that. So they just sent her right back home. So the boyfriend got the cat because the cat was okay. But she had to turn around, take another 22-hour boat ride to Denmark, then fly back to Norway, live in her sister's spare room for 2 weeks while she tried to get her visa sorted. That didn't work out. She had to live in her mom's up in North Norway. She had to fly out there and live there for 3 months and go back and forth to Oslo, tried to sort out the visa because she had already been to England. So everything got much more difficult. And she didn't apologize once for intruding in anyone's life, for living living in their house, eating their food. Nothing. That was just the way it was, yeah. So yeah, she is very true to her unapologetic life.
I feel I don't have a notebook with me set up here yet, but I feel like if I did, and maybe I'll be watching the replay on this, I feel like I need to take some notes and be a little bit more unapologetic as I bounce back and forth across the coast and stay in people's homes and become a little bit more unapologetic. I'm gonna take a page from her playbook and try to like live my unapologetic life a little bit more because
They should be happy to have you.
Yeah. maybe even I need to come to Norway or like bounce around there and test it for myself in a place where I know that you guys are accepting and loving of that. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Linda's not in it now.
Oh, what a lovely conversation we've been having about the unapologetic life. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We can talk about this probably so much more. So if you want to continue this conversation with us, we invite you to do so by connecting with us on LinkedIn, by chatting with us in the comments. Let us know what you love, what you don't, so that we can do it better. What resonates with you, your own experiences, you name it, we want to hear it. If you want to have that conversation a little bit more privately, again, here is the link where you can schedule a high vibe conversation of your own with the lady of your choosing. We, of course, encourage you to do that and so much more. And until next week, next week we do have a high vibe conversation. I'm jumping the gun thinking that it's Christmas already. So stay tuned for more. We will be back next week with another high vibe conversation. And until then, we will say bye for now.